Hey everyone, here's the gray squirrel from the other day, from the other video, the one that had pretty tight fur. I did end up deciding to tan its hair off, so I had put it in the wood ash solution that same day along with the possum. It's now 2 days later and it's ready, it's done. It was actually done yesterday. Gray squirrels, for me, pretty much always just take soaking in the wood ash overnight and they're ready the next day. I don't think I've ever had a squirrel take longer than a day, but I just didn't get around to it yesterday, so it's fine if you leave them in a few days longer. It doesn't really make a difference. The possum is not ready yet, so I'm just going to let it keep soaking. Different animals are different depending on their age, the thickness of the skin, the species of animal, that sort of deal. So I did just want to show you how I dehair squirrels and other small animals. So again, I'm back on a wood board. You know, I'm just almost always working on wood boards with rabbits and squirrels and things like that. And I have the hide with the neck facing me. This is the spine, and there's the rump. So, as all hides are, when you take them out of the wood ash, if they have properly swelled, if the wood ash was the right strength, they're kind of slimy and the skin is thick. The skin swells, becomes very slippery like a squid. It's very gross and bizarre. So it has that weird, swollen, rubbery, slimy texture. So I don't use any tools to dehair small animals. And often, like even for raccoons and possums and things like that, often I'm not using a scraper for them either. And the reason is simply that the grain layer, if you don't know what that is, watch the Tanning 101 classroom video, which includes all the layers of the skin. The grain layer, which is right under the epidermis, which is right under the hair, the grain layer is very sensitive at this point. Once the skin is swollen from the wood ash lye, the grain becomes very swelled as well and soft. This is the case with all animals, even a deer. So if you use some kind of tool, you are very likely to scrape off the grain or cut into it, and you don't want to mar the grain at all if you're trying to tan grain on leather. So I just use my fingers, just my fingertips are my tool, and usually my right hand, though I'm holding the camera. And I just start at the neck and just as if I were using a scraping tool, push downwards. So kind of in this direction or off to the sides, the same way. It's the same directional ways that you would scrape a hide for any reason. You know, so you could do straight down, or off to the sides. And I can push very hard with my hands because with my fingertips, if I don't have like long, sharp fingernails, there's no risk of me cutting into that grain by accident. Which if I use some kind of metal scraper or even a bone scraper, you know, it's possible. And the hair is just going to come off so easily anyway that there's really just no need. And you can see, like the hair should just smush right off. And there's underneath the grain, which you can't really see. You'll see it later on. What you can see is the epidermis coming off, right? So this tissue paper thin layer right under the hair, you see? It's like wet tissue paper, almost just falling apart. And it does just disintegrate. Focus. I think if I just pull on this a little bit, you can see it just disintegrates at this point. So the epidermis is just a very thin, delicate layer, and when you push, it just comes off with the hair. Sometimes little bits of that epidermis will stay stuck on the skin, and you do want to get them off. And they can be really hard to see when they stay stuck to the skin. But if you just look closely over time, you will get a feel for seeing it. And when that happens, if there's a little bit of epidermis or a little bit of hair stuck there, I just rub it harder. Just rub my hands back and forth. If there's a section that's being stubborn, like if there's a little section where like hair or epidermis isn't just not coming off, like let's just say this was stubborn, even though it's not. Let's just say what I'll do is I'll just take a clump of hair from somewhere else, take a little clump of it, and just use that as like a scrubber to like scrub the tough area. And just a little bit of friction, it's like a sponge. The friction from that ball of hair will do a great job to just scrub off any stubborn, tough epidermis or hair. So I'm going to do that to the whole hide, and then I'll come back. Okay, so back again. Here's the hide after I've pushed off all the hair. That's just about what it looks like. And I don't know if this camera's focusing very well. Like weird discoloration in skin, like brownish colors and sometimes reddish colors, or sometimes slightly greenish colors all over the swollen skin is totally normal when a skin is bucked like this, when it's swollen from the wood ash. So don't worry about discoloration like that. It all goes away in the end. One beautiful thing about the wood ash method in particular, as opposed to using other things to buck a hide like hydrated lime or stream rotting a hide, is that often there will be stubborn little bits of hair along the very edges of the skin, and that's specific to wood ash, where like, and it happens on deer too, on deer hides, where like all the hair will come off, and then just every once in a while on some of the edges the hair is pretty stuck on. And I really welcome that. It's one of the things I love about the wood ash method, because it means that in the end, your finished leather, like your beautiful brown or burgundy leather, will have these little tiny tufts of hair every once in a while along an edge, which is just so beautiful. I find that so beautiful. So that's literally how simple it is. And that's the backside. It's going to be totally stained by the wood ash. That's totally normal. It's just a messy, sloppy thing at this point. Now I'm going to soak it, which is called the rinsing step, which just means that I'm soaking it in clean water until the pH of the hide returns back down to neutral, or essentially neutral, and the hide doesn't feel swollen and rubbery anymore. Ideally, it's great to do it in running water. Like if you've got a stream or a little spring that's, a spring that's constantly trickling into a bucket or a bin or something like that. But sometimes when I don't have trickling water, yeah, I'll just fill up a whole 5-gallon bucket with fresh water, put the little hide in there, slosh it around, and then maybe once a day or twice a day, just dump out the water and pour fresh water in there. And, usually takes 2 or 3 or 4 days for a squirrel, for me, to get back to neutral. It's different for every animal. And that's what I'm going to do. This is all great for compost. Mulch your plants with it. This is great shit. So good. So there's the squirrel, just in its bucket of water. That's it. There'll be a bunch of fur floating around in there. I don't even put a lid on it or anything. Yeah, just down in there. And, I'll just check on it every day. And at least once a day, I like to kind of like squeeze it out. And you'll see kind of like opaque liquid coming out every time you squeeze it. And then I slosh it around and I replace the water. Again, this is only if you don't have a trickle scenario going on. That's it. It'll probably take about 3 days for this little squirrel. And the possum's still going in that bucket. Take him out every day and slosh him around and test the hair. I didn't overtly say it, but the way to tell when a hide is done in the ash solution is just to, pull it up and just tug on the fur on all the different parts of the hide. The thin belly skin, Hi everyone, I am just popping in to say that if you are enjoying this video, if it's the kind of thing that you think you learn from, to head on over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/stormsofdaylight. That info will be below. And this is an example of some of the process videos that I'm putting out lately. Specific to tanning, where I'm following along with whatever projects I have going on in real time as they happen, um, like over days and weeks, and filming different sections of it and kind of folding in lessons along the way as they make sense. So I'm actually really into it. I'm having a good time doing it. Um, I almost wish there were like other tanners or craft people for different crafts that did that. I don't know. I'm just like, oh man, I would just love to peek into somebody else's process. So that's what this is. Um, this is the second process video so far that I've done, that's following the same squirrel, possum, and fox. And this full video was, I don't know, about 50 minutes. So this was just a clip. So yeah, check it out. If you can think of anybody else who'd be into it, head on over there. It's very helpful. Um, I would like at some point to get to the point where like Patreon can support some of, at least a bulk of the time and energy it takes me to create the videos. I'm a long way away from that. But every little bit helps so much and is so encouraging. And yeah, I'm hoping to get some good conversations going on Patreon. There's been some good ones already. Yeah, and down the road, like I'd love to do Q&As and stuff like that. I just think that would be great. So head on over there and thanks for watching. Bye bye.